Hello and welcome to the first in a series of videos where we work through the Core 1 2015 May paper. So we'll start off with question 1, and the first question is to simplify 2 root 5 all squared. Okay, so if we write out what this actually means, it's going to be 2 root 5 multiplied by 2 root 5. So we just got to times the two brackets together, but I think it's helpful here to kind of write that out fully, where it's really 2 times root 5 times 2, and then that's also times root 5. And then with multiplication, the actual order of multiplication doesn't matter, so I could write this as 2 times 2, and then times root 5 times root 5. 2 times 2 is 4, and then root 5 times root 5. If I multiply two surds that are the same, we just get the original 5, so it'll be 4 times 5, which is 20. Okay, so that's part A done for 1 mark. Okay, so let's look at part B. So we've got root 2 over 2 root 5 minus 3 root 2. The question doesn't actually say, but it asks us to give it in this form, which should hopefully kind of imply to you that we need to get rid of this denominator at the bottom, so we need to rationalise the denominator. So let's write it out again. 2 root 5 minus 3 root 2. So to rationalise the denominator, we need to use a property where if I multiply the top and bottom of this fraction by the same thing, it's the same as just timesing it by 1. So it will keep the actual value of the fraction the same, but to get rid of the irrational denominator, we multiply by 2 root 5 plus 3 root 2. And that will get rid of any surds at the bottom, and also keep the value of the fraction the same, because we're just multiplying by 1 really. So we multiply by that. On the top we'll have root 2 multiplied by 2 root 5 plus 3 root 2, and on the bottom we'll have the double bracket to expand, which will be 2 root 5 minus 3 root 2 multiplied by the same but with a plus in the middle, plus 3 root 2, like that. So now we just need to work out what each of these are. So at the top we've got root 2 times 2 root 5. Well, that'll end up being 2 root 5 multiplied by root 2, and we can simplify that down in a second. And then we've got root 2 times 3 root 2. And kind of similar to part A, we can do the root 2 times the root 2 first, which will just become 2. So that ends up being 3 times 2. Like that. So that's the top. At the bottom we need to multiply each term, so we end up with 4 when we come out. We do 2 root 5 times 2 root 5, and that's actually the same question that we did for part A. 2 root 5 times 2 root 5 will end up being 20. Then we do 2 root 5 multiplied by 3 root 2, which will give us 6 root 5 root 2. And then we do minus 3 root 2 times 2 root 5, which will give us plus 6 root 5 root 2. And then the final term is from minus 3 root 2 times plus 3 root 2, so that will give us 3 times 3 is 9, and then root 2 times root 2 is 2. So at the top, 2 root 5 times root 2 will give us 2 root 10 by just combining the numbers underneath the surds, and then we get plus 3 times 2, which is 6. So like that. At the bottom, these two terms here will just cancel out, because they are minus 6 root 5 root 2 and plus 6 root 5 root 2, so they're just going to disappear. So we'll just get left with 20 minus 9 times 2 is 18, which we could also write as 2 root 10 plus 6 over 2, which would give us finally root 10 plus 3. So if we head back to the top and have a look at the question, we need to give our form in the answer in the form a plus root b, where a and b are integers. So for that, we're just going to highlight what a and b are. So in our case, a is 3 and b is 10. So that's that question. So part A, we just need to think about how we could maybe rewrite that in a sort of nicer way to figure it out. And then part B is just applying our rationalising the denominator, where we have to expand two terms and expand two terms on the top and expand the quadratic kind of double bracket at the bottom. And there we go, 5 marks.